5 bonus tips of how to cultivate your home through order and discipline. Hi ladies, it's Raquel here. Back by popular demand, I have 5 more tips that I use in my home that have really helped me to establish and cultivate a peaceful environment and a peaceful mind as a homemaker. Please keep in mind that anything that I share with you, I do in good faith because it's worked for me. Definitely what I give you today, consider, but use discretion. Use them as they bless you and your family in cultivating a home for you. So let's just get right into it. 5 tips to cultivate a peaceful home. Tip number 1 is to use a calendar, a planner, or a daily notebook. Just something to write down your to-dos for the day. A well-known quote I truly believe is, "Those who fail to plan, plan to fail." Doesn't necessarily mean we always stick to the plan that we've created, but a plan helps us to be flexible so that when chaos comes, life happens, we can be flexible and ride those waves, roll with the punches, and things can still go well, even if they didn't go exactly according to our plan. Planning can look so many different ways. It's even looked different for me over the years. Some years I just had a notebook and I wrote down every single thing. It was very motivating to me to have this huge list at the end of the day of all the things that I had done. But somewhere over the last few years, my list of all the to-dos just became this big, intimidating, ambiguous cloud of all the stuff I have to do that was constantly hanging over my head. I couldn't seem to work through everything that I needed to do, and my brain was constantly frazzled, and I didn't feel like I was accomplishing much in my home. Now I have a really great system that is working for me. I just write down 3 priorities for the day, and then I also have an area where I can just write down those little things that I need to do so I don't forget them during the day. And then I also have a brain dumping section where I remember I need to do this thing. It's not for me to do right now, but I don't want to forget it, so I just write it down. And then later, as I am choosing my 3 priorities, I can consult that list and take from there. And I have been able to get so much more done. I feel more at peace and I feel more productive, even though I just have 3 priorities for the day. Go figure. So do some research, watch some other mothers and see what they do, what works for them, and come up with your own system of what works well for you. The second tip here is to put your distraction down. I know that it can be intimidating or feel overwhelming to handle the different things that we need to handle as homemakers, but don't run to your phone, don't run to the book, don't run to whatever your distraction is, because it doesn't make that task go away. It's still gonna be there, and a lot of times we compound the problem by escaping and trying to just ignore the problem. Put your distraction down and just get to it. Just do the next thing that you need to do. I'm not gonna talk too much about this tip because I already talked about it in a recent video. I'll put a link to that video in the description box, but definitely put your distraction down. It's not doing anything to help you have peace in your home. Confront your stress and your boredom head on. Do the next thing. Tip number 3 is to discipline our children. Discipline for me means kindly teaching them, like it talks about in Proverbs chapter 31, and correcting them when needed. I find the kindly teaching part is more of the proactive, taking the initiative, teaching good character, teaching expectations, explaining before there's ever a problem, and then correction is obviously when there's been a misbehavior or disobedience of some kind. But it is so critical that we discipline our children and we shape their characters and help them to be enjoyable, likable human beings. Our children should be contributing to the peace of our home. We should be enjoying one another's company. We are family. Perhaps I'm just old-fashioned and I have old-fashioned values, although I hope I have biblical values regarding parenting and childhood. I truly believe that children are much happier when they are disciplined. And that might be because when we have disciplined children, we can enjoy our children. And because we enjoy them and they know that, then they have great eagerness and desire to please us and to be with us and make themselves peaceable toward us and respectful toward us. And so it all works together. Discipline leads to enjoyment on both parts. Proverbs chapter 29 verse 15 says, "A child left to himself brings his mother to shame." And verse 17, "Correct your child, and he shall give you rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto your soul." So discipline kindly teaching and correcting our children makes them happier and brings delight to us as well. Everyone in the family benefits when our children are disciplined, when we kindly teach them and we correct them. Tip number 4 also has to do with our children, and that is to train our children to be helpful and productive. Our children will be so much happier if we give them a job to do, if we allow them to be part of the family and contribute to the workings of the home. And things are going to run smoother too. Now you might be saying, well, my teenager this or that. I don't have teenagers, honestly, I can't speak to that. But I do know that starting my children young, letting them be there beside me in the kitchen, helping me bake this thing. I don't hardly put anything in our bread doughs or cake batters or anything like that anymore. My kids do it all. I just tell them what to do. And they love it. They love being part of the process of making a home. And my daughter, who's the oldest, says, I'm a homemaker in training. And she's just so proud of it. She came up with that terminology herself too. It's so adorable. But definitely starting when they're young, cultivating this mentality that it is good to work. It's good to enjoy the labors of your work and to contribute and be part of the family, that we're a team. This is our family, our home. We're all in this together. It really helps the whole house to be more at peace, to run smoother, everyone to be happier. If you do have older children and maybe you did train them from a young age to be helpful, or maybe you didn't train them from a young age to be helpful and productive, would you please share your experience with us in the comments? I can't speak to that. I don't have older children yet. My oldest is 7, almost 7. So please do share with us your experience with training your children or not training your children, what that has been like regarding the peace of your home. I would really love to glean from your insight and your wisdom in this area. Now we're on to tip number 5, but I just realized looking at my notes, I actually have a 6th tip for you, and I completely forgot. So there is one more after this one. But tip number 5 is to do the room money challenge. That doesn't mean anything to anyone because I just came up with that myself. But this is something that I used to do constantly, especially when my husband was making $10 to $12 an hour and I was a full-time homemaker and we lived only on his income. And we lived well and very happily and peaceably. Your home does not have to be stressed. Your marriage does not have to be stressed just because there's not a lot of income coming in. I really want to encourage you to be a home economist. Look for ways that you can save your family money. You may not be making money for your family, but how can you save money for your family? And how can you be resourceful and industrious and use your time and your resources well? That has always been such a fun challenge for me. I've always enjoyed doing that. And one of the ways that I did that was through my room money challenge. And basically I would walk into a room in the house with a clipboard and some paper, and I would write down all the ways that I could think of in that moment to save some money in that room. So one of these times I walked into the mudroom, which had our washer and our dryer, and I said, one way that I can save money is by eliminating the dryer. I don't need to dry my clothes with a machine anymore. My husband bought this monstrous drying rack that I use in the winter, and I would put it next to our wood stove. And then in the nice months, I would hang dry on a line. Of course, that takes some money to set up with cement and the posts themselves. And we had this really nice retractable line. And I calculated it, and I was saving us about $15 to $20 per month by just hang drying my laundry. And that may not seem like very much, but whenever you're counting every penny and every dollar because you're on such a tight income, it really does stretch a long way and make a big difference. I started making my own laundry detergents. I started washing pretty much everything on cold except for the things that really needed to be warm to hot water. And then I would go into the bathroom and into each of the bedrooms and into the kitchen and just everything that I could think of to save some money, be frugal, spend a little bit less money for the same quality of stuff, or change my technique, a tub of water instead of having the water running. I would write those things down, and then I would work on doing those things. Start with a couple. When I'm consistent with those things, add a couple of more things. But I really enjoy the challenge of being a home economist, being frugal, stretching our one income so that we're still living well, but we don't have that financial stress, even though we don't have a lot of financial resource. So definitely, whether you are tight on money or you're not tight on money, do this room money challenge because it's going to give you such a sense of accomplishment. It's going to be helpful for your home, and it's just going to help establish peace in your home by eliminating some financial stress in this regard. Tip number 6 is to clean the kitchen every night before bed. I have a whole video that I made about this tip and this habit that I have cultivated as a homemaker. I'll put a link to it in the description box and not spend too long talking about it. But cleaning your kitchen before bed just sets you up for a peaceful, well-ordered day the next morning. Because when you walk out there, everything's clean. You can get right to work. You're not having to wash pots and pans before you can make breakfast. There's clarity in your mind because there's not all this clutter and, oh yeah, I forgot. I have all of this mess to deal with. When I walk into the kitchen, if it is a mess, I have to do some cleaning before I can get started with breakfast. Especially in the RV right now, if there is even a little bit of mess, like it's all a mess because it's such a small space. And so it really can cause delays in my day getting going because I'm having to clean up from dinner the night before and make breakfast and then clean up from breakfast, you know, so there's delays. The whole family is kind of in limbo as they're waiting for breakfast to be made. It just really goes a long way to clean your kitchen every night before bed if you can do it. And that doesn't mean that you're doing a whole day's worth of dishes at the end of the day. When you know that you want to clean the kitchen before bed, then you're more aware throughout the day and you're more apt to do a little bit here, a little bit there, so that at the end of the day, it's really just dinner that you have to clean up from. And that makes it a lot more manageable, especially at the end of the day when you're tired. So give it a try, clean your kitchen before bed every night and see how it affects the peace in your home and your morning the next day. All right, ladies, so there you go. That was the 5 turned 6 tips for cultivating a peaceful home through order and discipline. I hope you enjoyed this video as well as the last video that had 10 tips. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are all your tips for cultivating a peaceful home through order and discipline? I learned so much from all of you. Now, this is just one aspect of cultivating a peaceful home through order and discipline, but I do believe that there are other aspects to cultivate a peaceful home. Through the nurture and care of the people and the things in our home, we can cultivate peace through inner work with ourselves, through biblical womanhood and our relationship with the Lord, and also through preserving and guarding the atmosphere of our home. And I hope that I'll have the opportunity to talk about some of these other aspects in future videos, but I hope that what I have shared has been helpful for you thus far. Please give this video a thumbs up if it was. Share this video with other godly homemakers in your life. Until next time, I pray that Yahweh would bless you and keep you. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.